Hello and welcome back, my beautiful, powerful grasshoppers. It is about 300 degrees in here, so I'm gonna keep it quick so I can go back downstairs into the AC area. Yeah, in this video I'm making something weather appropriate. It is a beautiful, timeless summer dress. It was kind of hard, but also not that hard. So as long as you have a lot of patience to sew on some buttons and make some buttonholes with your difficult machine. I made this dress from another fabric that I got in Paris. It is this beautiful dark with some white daisies on it. Yeah, so as I said, I think it's a pretty timeless silhouette. At least my mom said that, so guess it's true. Yeah, there were some hiccups along the way and some lessons learned, so I will tell you those. Let's get into it. So first up, I'm cutting out my patterns, and I actually got those from copying a shirt that I had, and then also the front part I just slashed and spread so I would have some gathering under the bust. This is what I have. These are the upper bust panels. These are gonna get shorter, but I cut enough. And then underneath is where my waist will be with the little points pointing downwards. First up, I just sewed together the shoulder seams so I could try it on. And as you can see, it is way too long in the front, but we can always cut it. The shoulder seams I deemed fine for now. I'm gonna cut the neck hole bigger. And then I put this corset thingy on just to see where the top part would hit, because it's kind of what I modeled those front panels off of. Then I'm gonna shirr a panel that is pretty wide and just as tall as those waistband pieces. For the shirring, you just wanna hand wind your bobbin. Also, I shirred way too much. I didn't need this much in the end. You can see how much I cut off. Anyway, this is my shirt pattern. This is for comfort. You don't really need this, but I wanted it for comfort around my belly, so when I eat and everything, it will be fine. I pinned it right sides together onto the back piece, and I sewed that down, just, stretching it. It's not too hard. Here you can see that I've sewed it on, and you can also see the front two bust panels. And next up, I am going to be sewing 2 basting stitches right along there, and then just ruffling that up, or gathering, so it would fit the width of my waistband panel. I just made sure to put the ruffles pretty far in the middle, so they would all be along my boobs and not, under my arms. And I also put in some lining just where the waistband part is, because I wanted that to be stable and flat, and I don't really like interfacing on skin, so I just put this regular fabric in, and I sewed it down by doing a stitch in the ditch from the outside along the ruffled parts. And here you can see me cutting out the front, because that was way too long. That went like underneath my belly. So yeah, and I'm just taking one side and copying it so both sides will be symmetrical. Next up, I sewed together the side seams, and that's what that's gonna look like. You can see how much shirring I have left over. I did cut off all of that shirring in the next step, just to make sure that the waistband is the same all the way around. Next up, I just kind of laid down my sleeve opening and tried to draw a sleeve, but then I kind of realized that that's not really the shape of a sleeve, so I changed it and then I actually slashed and spread that as well. to try to make some ruffles at the top, and I just used some newspaper for that, and yeah, it's kind of a mess. I actually did one of those sleeves and then I redid them because there were too many ruffles at the top. I felt like somewhere a little bit less than this pattern that you're seeing right now was ideal for me. Obviously, make them as puffy as you want to. It's your dress. Yeah, but it's basically still the same. I am sewing together the sleeve right sides and then I am making 2 basting stitches and gathering up just the top part. And to know how much I need to gather, I'm just kind of laying it on there and then seeing. And then I'm sticking it inside the sleeve hole, and I'm firstly marking the middle of the top and also along the side seam. And then I am just dispersing the ruffles evenly. And I just sewed that down with a straight stitch, and I also used the overlocker to finish just this. This is what it looked like. I think I cut some off and I just ironed it over once and then I folded it over one more time whilst I was sewing down the hem of the sleeve. I don't think they're perfect. I think they could have been a little different for this dress, but you know, they work. They're pretty timeless. Sing to me the FM radio. And now I had to take my remaining fabric and calculate the size of skirt I could cut out. I just decided to make this kind of like trapeze shape, so it would be wider at the bottom and I would gather it at the top. And I just kind of mathed that out, and obviously the front is cut in half along the front. Now I actually put two gathering stitches all the way around, but I am just going to sew the back first because, you know, it's easier to make it in different steps. You don't have to do everything all at once. So I am actually dividing the shirt part as well as the gathered part I already have, and I'm just gonna pin it at those markers and make sure I stretch the shirt part while I'm sewing on the gathers, because otherwise it's not gonna stretch anymore. So those beautiful shirring would be for nothing. Next, I just kept gathering the front sections, and I'm just pinning it to the outside fabric now. Now that I have done that, I've ironed it well to go underneath the lining fabric that is just in one place, but it's still a lining fabric, more like stabilization. And I'm just folding this over and making sure I hit the stitch line of the previous seam so I can stitch in the digit. And I actually like to pin it from the outside here so I can see where my pins are. I don't want to sew over my pins, that would be not very good. You can see the pins from the inside, that's a good sign. All the inside fabric will be caught. And it was. So there we go. This is what it looks like from the outside. Stitching the ditch is somehow kind of difficult, I don't know. Okay, so intermission. Right after this part, I went to overlock right around here. And when I did that, this part accidentally went underneath the overlocker and it made a freaking hole in it, and I literally cried. Anyway, this is what it looked like, and I ended up just fixing it with a lot of hand stitching because I didn't want to do all of this again. You know, I already had the seams and the sides and everything. So yeah, this is how I fixed it. Let me show you what it looks like on the outside. So, I mean, you can barely tell, and if it's on, you know, nobody's gonna know. So yeah, that's my little story. So after this, I focused on the neckline and also the center front. It was a little bit too big, but I was just cutting it off. And then I made a really long bias strip, I guess you could call that. This is just gonna be the buttonhole placket, or the button placket, both actually. And I pinned this right sides together in one of the creases that I ironed. I obviously made sure this is the size of the buttons that I need. I just had pretty small buttons. And yeah, I'm sewing into the groove. And the last step before the buttons was, I also put some interfacing after the fact. And I also did a stitch in the ditch for this button placket as well. There were some fit issues with the button placket. It was kind of standing up at my neck, so I just kind of hand sewed that down. To be honest, you really can't tell. If this was a different fabric, maybe you could, but absolutely not, and it looks way better. Yeah, and I obviously sewed all the buttonholes and the buttons, but you don't need to see that. So these are my beautiful buttons, and this is my beautiful dress. I think it turned out pretty cute, and it was my first time making something like this. This shape is exactly what I wanted, so yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, follow my Instagram, and I see y'all next time. Bye! Baby, just for a moment, drown these voices.